What's going on with the country Georgia? I've seen multiple posts this last week about protests in Georgia. I gather that it's about a new law being passed, but even with the article linked in the post below, I'm not quite sure why the law is controversial or what its implications are. Answer: Georgia has had a tumultuous history since it reclaimed its independence in 1991. While the exact details are controversial, it is clear that almost immediately after independence, Russian state actors began interfering in Georgia to maintain the Kremlin's influence in the country. This fueled two separatist rebellions, a coup d'état, and a resulting brief civil war. The Russian-backed Eduard Shevardnadze, the former secretary of the Georgian Communist Party during the Soviet era, managed to secure power and ruled for most of the 1990s. However, poor economic performance and authoritarian rule made Shevardnadze unpopular, and after a disputed election in 2003, popular protests broke out. These led to the resignation of Shevardnadze and the subsequent election of Mikhail Saakashvili as president. Saakashvili ruled Georgia from 2004 to 2013. His period in government saw significant economic growth, police reform, and significant investments in Georgia's military. He was accused of having autocratic tendencies, though less so than Shevardnadze, however, and became quite controversial. Saakashvili was also known for his pro-Western foreign policy, which made him despised by Russia. Russia attempted to undermine his presidency, which climaxed with the 2008 Russo-Georgian War. During the conflict, Russia helped separatists seize control of the regions of South Ossetia and Abkhazia, subsequently recognizing them as independent states, while maintaining a Russian military occupation there. This defeat severely weakened Saakashvili, and his party lost the subsequent 2012 parliamentary and 2013 presidential elections. The winners of the election were the Georgian Dream Party, led by Bidzina Ivanishvili, a billionaire media mogul with ties to the Kremlin. The Georgian Dream Party ran on a populist economic platform and a promise to pursue a pragmatic foreign policy, seeking to increase ties with the European Union while cooling tensions with Russia. The party remained relatively popular for much of the past decade, owing in part to its welfare platform and its generally successful handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, but also due to the increasingly consolidated control of Ivanishvili and his allies over the media landscape. In recent years, however, the political scene has once again become very polarized. The Georgian Dream Party has been accused of increasing authoritarian tendencies, utilizing state resources to harass and bully the opposition. Furthermore, the party has been accused of moving away from its promise of a balanced foreign policy in favor of a more blatantly pro-Russian stance. As you might imagine, Russia is very unpopular with most Georgians, so the reaction to this policy shift has been very negative. Now the Georgian Dream Party has passed a bill that will require all non-government organizations that receive at least 20% of their funding from abroad to register as foreign agents and subject themselves to monitoring by the Ministry of Justice. Critics have compared this to legislation passed in Russia, hence it being nicknamed the Russian Law, and say it will be used to discredit NGOs opposed to the government, and serve as a basis for future efforts to repress them entirely. This alone would likely lead to protests from the targeted NGOs and their supporters. However, tensions over the bill have been aggravated by the fact that Georgian Dream and its allies haven't really kept mum about their intentions with the bill, all but outright stating it's aimed at curtailing perceived American and EU influence in Georgia. In other words, the bill basically represents an open break by Georgian Dream from their previously announced policy of supporting EU integration, instead adopting a hostile attitude towards the EU. For Georgians who support EU integration thus further oppose the bill for deliberately fraying Georgia's ties with Europe.